Today on
Doomed!
The election is over. Or is it? Joe Biden is the president-elect. Or is he? On today's show, we will be taking a look at the week that was. The election is now behind us, and the country is now united, together in unison, welcoming our new president-elect, Joe Biden. Trump has conceded and is saying good luck to Biden and helping with the transition. And who am I kidding? You guys all know this is bullshit by now, I'm sure. The right is still... Let me put myself up on the screen now. Welcome to the show, everyone. The right is melting down. Conservatives are in a free fall in terms of trying to make sense of what's going on, and they're doubling down on some of the most insane things you've ever heard in your life. Where did we leave off, guys? Last I did a live stream was very late at... Last time I did a live stream, very late at night on election night. We went into the hours of the morning. I think I ended up calling it quits at like 3:30 a.m. that Wednesday. So just a week later now. And we had not known the results of the election. I think we were still waiting for this big Wisconsin drop, right? In one of the counties that would basically nailed it for Joe Biden, and it never came. And so we decided to just call it a night. And then I did the majority report the next day, because the next day was Thursday, and I co-host Thursdays at the majority report on the second half of the show with Emma Vigeland and Jamie Peck and Matt Leck and Brendan Finn. And by then, we ended the show last week, pretty sure. I showed you guys my map, right? Do you remember my map where I called the entire election, except for the one state that's still out, Georgia? My map now rests on the one state that hasn't been called yet. It seems like Georgia's going to be for Biden, though, which, 98% ain't bad, right? That's still an A. It wasn't officially called, though, even though those few days after the election, it was becoming clear that Biden was running away with the lead in Pennsylvania and Arizona. Well, Arizona was getting tighter, but Pennsylvania, Nevada, even Georgia, he was growing his lead. But then he ended up winning Arizona, too. And then Saturday, the networks finally called it, and they were just partying in the streets, which I want to reiterate is not really... I don't think people were really partying for Joe Biden. I'm sure they were. But the parties were for the end of the Trump era come January, which is what we all think, right? Let me explain the opening of the show. If you aren't aware, the right is convinced that it's not over yet. In certain conspiratorial circles, like in the QAnon world, they believe that Trump is still on track for a 50-state landslide. He's going to win all 50 states. Still. And that once the recounts are done and all the legal votes are counted. I love this distinction now, right? Don't you guys just love this distinction? When all the legal votes are counted and the illegal votes are taken out. I guess I'll just do the Alex Jones voice from now on for these guys, right? Whenever I'm talking about these guys, because they're all conspiracy theorists now. When I mean these guys, Maga, the far right, the right in general, conservatives, the Republican Party, the GOP. When we take all the illegal votes out and just count all the legal votes, folks, you're looking at a 50-state Trump sweep. And Joe Biden will be taken back down to hell by Satan. Just look at his beady little eyes. Joe Biden. Just I look at that man, and I see the devil. I see Satan himself. And then I look at Trump. our Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. And he's gonna take all 50 states. I just know it's still in my heart. Normal stuff. The QAnon people. Let's take it from. There's a lot to talk about here. I wanted to. My initial, because I was, like you all were saying last week, I was on a roll. With the I did on election day. I did Majority Report, and then I did the Serfs on their panel late night stream. And after that, I did my own 4-hour live stream marathon into the wee hours of the morning. Then the next morning, co-hosted the Majority Report. And I was ready. And as you all know, I moved that last week. And technically, we had one day for moving the stuff, but this has been a long move. We're unpacking stuff. I've got 2 kids, so, I idiotically thought I could still do it myself, as if it was just me and my partner, the last time we moved. Forgot that there was 2 extra ones with lots more stuff than we even have. And so last week I moved to, and I was feeling pumped. You guys were talking about, I was drinking so much Monster Energy drink. You guys were talking about the adrenaline rush going through me. I was seriously just running on caffeine and Monster Energy drinks and Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden got called on Saturday, and I was ready to do a live stream that night, and I crashed. I put the kids to bed, and while I was putting them to bed, I fell asleep, and I never woke up. And honestly, I've just been absolutely out of it ever since that. It's all catching up to me. So that was my initial. That was what I was initially going to give you guys. By the way, patreon.com/MattBinder. You could support this show so I can do more content. And what I really needed is I needed a fund to just have a stack of Monster Energy drink in this room here. And if I had that stack of Monster Energy, I would have been fine. This never would have happened. I would have been ready to go. There would have been no issues whatsoever. But I didn't have that stack of Monster Energy. So patreon.com/MattBinder. If you could support this show, really appreciate it. Help the show grow. I feel like we're really moving on up. I don't know if you guys can't tell, but I got my own little space now in this place, this new apartment we moved into. You probably could still hear the echo a little bit. I'm working on it. I'm working on a little bit of soundproofing, but not really soundproofing. It's just sound dampening, really. I'm looking to just stop that echo. And there's a mosquito in here now. Got him. All right. So everything is working out great. So anyway, also you can support the show by going doomedpod.com and subscribing to the podcast, or to youtube.com/MattBinder, where you're likely watching it right now if you're not watching it on Periscope on Twitter, twitter.com/MattBinder, or on Twitch, where it's also being simulcast, twitch.tv/MattBinder. Or Facebook. I think it's even streaming there. You got to go to Facebook, search Matt Binder. It's not streaming there, but Instagram, Matt Binder, etc., etc. Search for me, Matt Binder, all your social networks. You'll find it. You'll find me. There you go. So subscribe. Oh, and another thing. I gotta do a call right now. So I sort of dropped the ball recently about iTunes reviews and Google Play reviews and stuff like that. But the haters did not get the message to ignore that stuff, because suddenly, out of the blue, we got a bunch of negative reviews on iTunes. Not written reviews, but the star reviews. And for the first time ever, my iTunes score dropped from a perfect 5 out of 5 to an imperfect 4.5 out of 5. We can't let that happen. The right-winger is trying to sabotage this show. We can't let them. The centrists and moderates trying to make sure that a leftist podcaster / live streamer is held down. Folks, are we going to let them do that to us? I.e. really me? I think not. We're going to all go to iTunes right now, or the podcast app, or whatever the hell Apple does nowadays. And we're going to type in Doomed with Matt Binder. And we're going to pull that podcast up on the app / whatever you have downloaded on your computer if you're not on your phone. And you're going to leave a good review if you'd like to. I'm not going to force you. If you want to leave a good review, you're going to leave a good review, a 5 out of 5 star. You're going to leave a written review too. And we're going to get this show back from a 4.5 to a 5 out of 5. All right? Only, this is really, I love it. Philip Lagast says, only the legal reviews should count. And that's damn right. We're going to take this all the way to the courts. And we're going to have the justices look at this. And they're going to decide. Did these iTunes reviews come in on time? Were these iTunes reviews filled out properly? Are there people signing into their dead relatives' iTunes accounts to leave iTunes reviews on top of their own personal reviews left via their own iTunes account? We're going to have to really get this checked out. Stop the reviews. Stop the reviews. And when I'm back at a 5 out of 5, we will go back to counting all the reviews. But until then, stop the reviews. But you guys are going to go leave a review. Don't stop giving me reviews. We stop counting the reviews until they're all positive, and then you get my drift. Samantha Sider, iTunes reviews don't have photo ID. Fake reviews. Absolutely. Anyway, what I'm going to do, not yet, but what I'm going to do is, you could always leave the super chats. I'll get to those no matter what. If you're watching on YouTube right now, leave a super chat. I will read your super chats for sure. Obviously, I read some other comments, but you will be guaranteed that I get to your comment/question if you leave a super chat. Dharma said Dharma, I don't know if you're a man or woman, I'm sorry, but you just looked and it said you're a 4.7, folks. Folks, they're counting the ballots, the reviews, they're counting the reviews, and it's going up. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Reviews go up, we count them. Reviews go down, we don't count them. We stop the count. So, keep those reviews coming right now. 4 point, let's get back to a 5. Freaking 3.5 years now, this show's been a 5. And then some a-holes leave negative reviews. And I'm at a 4.5? I don't think so. You know, Trump wins in 2016, now he loses in 2020. How does that work? Exactly. 3.5 years of perfect iTunes reviews, and all of a sudden, something's up. Something's on. That's not how it works. So super chat at youtube.com/MattBinder. And then also I will be opening up the Skype for calls. Don't call yet because I'm not going to take your calls. But I will be opening up the calls in a little bit. But first, let's do that review of the week, right? Shall we? I sort of was doing that, and then I went on a prolonged self-promotional rant. But it's okay. Let's get back on track. So, Saturday, Biden is, the networks call out for Biden, and okay. Now, since then, Trump and the Republican Party, a lot of Republicans actually, have done everything possible to deny the fact that Joe Biden is the president-elect and will undoubtedly be the next president of the United States come January. And, I mean, listen, if the votes were close in one state, like if we're talking 2020 came down to a couple hundred votes in Florida and the Supreme Court ruled how they did and Bush became the president of the United States, listen, if that was the case, we'd have something to worry about. But that is not the case. Joe Biden has something like 306 electoral votes right now. And that's without counting Georgia, I believe, which we don't know yet because my map is still correct. But, and he wins, by the way, by tens of thousands of votes in states like Wisconsin and Arizona and Nevada. And he wins by something like hundreds of thousands of votes in states like Michigan. And I believe when all the votes are counted in Pennsylvania too, or at least it'll be close, I think. So again, we're not talking a close, people were really worried election night. I'll never forget that, honestly. And we didn't get to discuss this because the last time I spoke to you was election night. People were really like coming to me full on doomer mode on Tuesday night, last week, election night. On Twitter, on the live stream, Matt, how could you be so confident? Matt, your map was wrong. And I don't mean Georgia. They mean completely wrong. Trump is going to win. Look at that. No, I told you, like I said on Twitter, when you saw only one set of footprints in the sand on election night, it was then that I carried you. Folks, I told you not to worry on election night. I said everything was going to be smooth sailing. Well, not smooth sailing, but everything was going to work out in our favor. Biden was on track to winning. Even when Trump looked like he was taking the lead and racking up those states, and people didn't know yet about Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and North Carolina and Georgia and Arizona and Nevada. And then Florida and Ohio were called for Trump. And once Florida and Ohio were called for Trump, oh no, everyone thought. And by the way, Ohio is correctly voted for the next president of the United States every election since 1960. They had a streak. No way it was going to be Joe Biden. I told you guys, listen, calm down, chill out. Look how close it is. And they haven't even counted the mail-in votes in these states. Relax, I said. And, you know, people were seriously freaking out. But it was pretty obvious to me what was going to happen this election. I mean, everyone was sharing that clip of Bernie calling it on one of the late night shows, I think Jimmy Fallon's show. The Tonight Show, Bernie basically saying like a week or two before the election, saying how, listen, this is what I worry is going to happen on election night. It's going to be close. The Joe Biden and Donald Trump, the certain states won't be called that night, and that's because they're not going to have counted the mail-in votes, and people are going to say, oh, we don't know who the president is. And you're going to have the networks say, oh, Trump may be Trump. And you're going to have Trump come out. And Trump's going to say, oh, I win the election. I win Pennsylvania. I win Wisconsin. I win Michigan. And you're going to have this sort of chaos for people not knowing who the actual election winner is. And it's going to be, people, and Bernie was right. But quite honestly, Bernie wasn't a soothsayer. He was just calling what anyone who is, I guess you have to be sort of in this bubble to know, anyone who knew anything about how this was going to work on election night knew this was going to happen. They knew this is exactly how it was going to turn out, because it wasn't a surprise it turned out this way. It was manufactured this way. The Republican Party had wanted it to go this way. They wanted this sort of chaos the night of the election and in the ensuing days. They wanted people to be unsure about who won. The states that have a Republican majority in the state legislature, in those states, like Pennsylvania, for example, they specifically made it so. They passed rules where basically the early votes couldn't be counted until after the election. Some states had already counted the mail-in votes and had it ready to go as soon as the polls closed in their state to announce what the early and mail-in voting totals were. And then the day of votes were just added to that. No, this was purposeful. So it wasn't a surprise that this is what happened. But at the same time, it's becoming pretty clear that Joe Biden's win and his ability to pick up states like Arizona and possibly Georgia means that as much as the GOP tried, it's not going to be debatable. Like a recount, or it isn't going to change 130,000, I think, votes in Michigan. A judge isn't going to overturn, I think it's currently 45,000 votes in Pennsylvania, if not more. It's the last I checked, 45,000. So So, they had hoped to really fuck with you, frankly speaking. And they did for a few hours on election night. But when you have people on like Thursday night and all through Friday and Saturday morning yelling at the networks to, oh my God, just call it already. It's so obvious. And the networks were being safe, being overly safe, to not call it until it became pretty clear who was winning what states. And, once, I think, Thursday, they called Michigan and Wisconsin. And then Saturday morning, Pennsylvania was officially called. And that's when they announced it for Biden. I mean, it just gets to a point where there's no, what is that tweet from Bronzehammer? The hilarious Jesse Ferrara from the Go Off Kings, who was on one of the really early Doomed episodes, by the way. I gotta have those guys back on this show. What was it? Something like, oh, no way old Donnie Trump gonna wriggle out of this jam. And then Donald Trump wriggles out of the jam. And then it goes back to, well, nevertheless. Well, old Donald Trump finally found a jam he couldn't wriggle his way out of. They're gonna try, but he ain't wriggling out of this jam. And, without... What they're trying now is really a full-on coup attempt, to be quite frank. They're hoping that these results just get changed in their favor. They're challenging real votes. By the way, I was reading that a Wisconsin recanvass turned out that they were actually undercounting Joe Biden's votes by a few hundred votes and overcounting Donald Trump's votes by a few hundred votes. So in one of the recanvasses in Wisconsin, Trump actually ended up losing votes and Biden ended up gaining votes, which ironically is what happened in 2016. You guys remember Jill Stein's recount in Wisconsin? The one that she fundraised like a couple $1 million from gullible libs, hoping that somehow the election would be stolen from Trump for Hillary. Because Hillary did indeed win the popular vote, but unfortunately, Electoral College is what counts, and Trump won that in 2016. But there was that recount that Jill Stein raised money for, and when the recount in Wisconsin was done, they actually ended up finding more votes for Trump. So the reverse happened this time around, ironically. So I mean, what should we talk about? Oh, okay. So let's get to this because this will be fun. Let's watch some of these videos together. I have put together a playlist of clips of Maga meltdowns. Let me actually send out this again. Come watch a playlist of Maga meltdowns with me live now on YouTube. And sending that right now. Here we go. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have some fun. And we're going to watch a few of these clips that I've pulled. Now, you may have seen some of these clips. You may not have seen some of these clips. I've basically compiled some of my favorite MAGA meltdowns from election night and the days after. Now, there's a few I couldn't play. There was one particularly I couldn't play because of copyright issues. I don't want the stream taken down or hit with a copyright strike. But at one of the MAGA impromptu MAGA rallies outside one of the election counting centers in one of those states that weren't called on election night, Trump supporters wearing Blue Lives Matter flags, the thin blue line flags, were dancing to Rage Against the Machine and singing along, well, mouthing along to Rage Against the Machine songs. Very funny. Go seek out that clip. You'll find it very easily. Can't play it here, though, because I'll get copyright stricken. But let's play some of these clips now. Let me pull up. All right, here we go. So this is... which one should I play first? Which one? All right, let's start with this. You might have seen this one, but it is hilarious. So this is televangelist Kenneth Copeland. The day after or 2 days after, it's either Thursday or Friday after the election. And he is, was it one of those days? It's after the election at some point, but is he a pastor even? He's a I don't even know what he is. Kenneth Copeland. He runs like one of those mega churches. And this is his reaction to Joe Biden. The media basically saying Joe Biden is on his way to becoming the next president of the United States.
The media said what? The media said Joe Biden's president. Ha 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 ha
As you can see, he's totally having a normal one. Just a regular old guy having some fun after the election, right? So, I mean, this is a guy who's the head of a church. I mean, he's tax exempt. I guarantee it, you know. This is, you see what he's doing, though. He's not really voicing his political opinion. He's just laughing at that. So that's how they get around that. But by the way, I think this one was so overtly in your face that he felt like he had to do this. So Right Wing Watch pointed out that Kenneth Copeland came out the next day, and my dad says it was Kenneth Copeland bit was after Biden was declared the winner by AP on Saturday. Oh, so it was Sunday. Of course, how could I forget that? It's Sunday church, huh? But the next day, I guess Monday, he felt like maybe that was. He's got to watch out for that tax exemption, right? So he came out and posted this video after.
For those that might have the idea that I hate Joe Biden, I do not. No, I don't. I love him. I pray, like I said, I prayed it today for those two. And I want you to know that should it be necessary, I apologize if that came across that way. Because I love the Lord my God with all my heart, all my soul, all my mind, and all my strength. And I love Jesus more than I love any human being, more than I serve him with all of my heart and all of my being, and I have for 54 years. And I love you. I don't even know you, but I love you. Because Jesus is my Lord. Amen.
Now that's the smile of a very serious man. I mean, that's where am I over here? Over here. Okay, that's a very. I'm getting cut out. That's a very. It's a very trustworthy smile. You know, that's a man you buy a car from, a used car, I should say. So that's Ken Copeland, not coping very well over there in Copeland. I mean, they really were melting down. Let's get to that one was to me one of the funniest, but not really much. I mean, I was going to say not much of a meltdown, but I don't know how much more of a meltdown you could get than having a hysterical laughing fit. Here's a good one. Here is a bunch of MAGA supporters, bunch of Trump people, praying in front of. Now, this one might not be the best audio, but visually, it's pretty sickening / incredible. A bunch of Trump supporters praying in front of a counting center on election night in Nevada. Let's get to this clip. Just I don't what is going on here? I mean, if these guys saw, I guarantee you, if these guys saw a bunch of Muslim people praying like this at a government facility like this, I guarantee you, they would be mocking them and talking about how they're trying to bring Sharia law to this country, right? Now, let's get to the next clip. Okay, here's another. As you can see, there's some. I like Nevada. I think it's a wonderful state, wonderful people in Nevada. I think Vegas could be fun if you go. I mean, it's easy for me because I don't drink, and I'm very cheap. I'm very frugal. So when I go to Vegas, I make the most of it and don't spend too much. But Vegas could be fun, and there's some great people in Nevada, and but something was going on in Nevada on election night, which was an election. This is the morning after the election, because I don't get it though. Nevada has gone blue the past few times. I mean, I'm pretty sure Nevada is now a blue state, like for good, because of the influx of immigrants, Latino immigrants who work service jobs and other labor jobs in the state, who work the casinos, and also because of that, there's a strong labor movement in Nevada. So I mean, it's a blue state now. So I don't know what these guys were thinking, but here is a totally sane man having another completely normal one the day after the election in Nevada.
As I mentioned, we are not prepared to give that number.
The Biden crime family stealing the election. The media is covering up. The Biden crime family stealing this election. The media is covering up. The Biden crime family stealing this election. The media is covering up. We want our freedom for the world. Give us our freedom, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is covering up this election. He's stealing it.
I love the walk away after. I gotta play the. He messes up a little bit. I think it's embarrassed if you listen to what he says.
The Biden crime family stealing this election. The media is covering up. We want our freedom for the world. Give us our freedom, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is covering up this election. He's stealing it.
He accidentally said Joe Biden is covering up this election, and then he realized and screamed he's stealing it, and he walks away. I love that shirt though. Barbecue, beer, and freedom. Good guy. What's another fun clip? Now, it's not just random people who are Trump supporters melting down either. We have Congress people, and here is a former congresswoman, and not just that, a former presidential candidate, a Republican 2012 presidential candidate. Here is Michele Bachmann having a normal one.
I ask, oh God, that you would take your iron rod, and I ask that you would smash the clay jar of deceit in America. Smash the clay jar of delusion in the United States of America. Smash the delusion, Father, of Joe Biden as our president. He is not. Yeah. Would you take your iron rod and smash the strong delusion that Nancy Pelosi does have her House of Representatives? We don't know that. Smash it in Jesus' name. Smash, Lord, the takeover of the U.S. Senate by Chuck Schumer. Lord, smash it with your iron rod.
I thought you could do one more smash. Listen, for a people who are all about law and order, Michele Bachmann sure wants to smash a lot of things. I mean, this is completely. I mean, people, the right. Do you guys remember in 2016 when the right were sharing all of those clips of Hillary supporters? You know, at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City for the big celebration when they thought Hillary was going to win, crying, and the people in the streets crying, and all the people who were upset about Hillary losing crying. I mean, I would say that is, you know, if you were on the if there were right wingers crying, and there are, we'll surely get to them soon. It's funny. So, you know, but to me, crying is like a normal emotion, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't cry for an election, but I get people who do because, I mean, obviously, if, you know, I'm someone who cares about policies, and obviously the president does play a role in that, but I don't think that electoral politics and the presidential race, quite frankly, is the end-all be-all for that. But I do see people who look at it that way and why they'd be upset, especially if they believe strongly it's going to affect them. I mean, Trump being president surely affected the lives of immigrants, undocumented people, and you know, Muslims, and a number of other people, so groups of people. So I totally get it. But again, crying is like a normal emotion. What is all this? Like, we're seeing these guys lose their minds. They're literally going nuts. They're going crazy. Like, I prefer that they just cried, to be quite honest. Please, just cry. You'll feel better. Just, you know, a dry heave. You know, you just let it out. You'll feel so much better. You don't need to do this. Please do this so I can have great content to share with my viewers. But you don't gotta do this. Okay. This is someone, I don't know if people really know too much about her, but this is Real Tina. And she sort of popped out of the blue this past year. She's that New York Trump supporter who, she's from the Bronx. She got a really thick New York City accent, like almost like comically over the top New York. Well, it is not almost. It's comically over the top New York accent. I say this as someone born, bred, raised, and lived my whole life in Queens, New York City. So I know a New York accent. All right. I mean, I got a Queens accent, but I know all the New York accents. But this one is comically over the top, and she got sort of gained a following among the Trump circles. She has her catchphrase, Trump 2020, motherfucker. Here is her the morning after the election, trying really hard to pretend she's not upset, but she's really upset.
I don't care who you voted for, but if you don't see the massive fraud that went on with the mailing voting, you need serious fucking help. This ain't no Russian collusion, fucking delusion bullshit you all ran with on the other side for 4 fucking years with Adam Schiff and the rest of the fucking crew, Slur of the House, and everyone else with that shit, okay? This is we the people. We're a lot smarter than the rest of you fucking morons. That's number one. Number two is we gained, not lost, gained congressional seats. Minorities, women, veterans. Okay, we held the Senate, but the presidency, finding votes everywhere, you expect us to fucking believe that? We're not gonna give up, okay? And we're not gonna scream Russia, Russia, Russia. But there was fucking fraud. You all need to fucking admit it. If not, you're sorry ass pieces of shit. Trump 2020, motherfucker. Fuck out of here.
I just gotta play that ad again. It's so funny.
Everywhere? You expect us to fucking believe that? We're not gonna give up, okay? And we're not gonna scream Russia, Russia, Russia. But there was fucking fraud. You all need to fucking admit it. If not, you're sorry ass pieces of shit. Trump 2020, motherfucker. Fuck out of here.
Big fan of Real Tina. You guys should really follow her. She's great. I mean, listen. Hey, you're trying to steal it from Donald Trump over here. I ordered a pepperoni pizza and they gave me anchovies. What's going on over here? Trying to fuck with Trump supporters? Hey! Speaking of people on the right who gained a following, there's this is a guy, Christian Walker. He's got like something like 150,000 Twitter followers. This video of his got a million views. This video, this is the perfect example of the Trump supporter who is pretending to not be angry. You know that meme of the Wojak with the smiling mask over him really crying underneath? You know, at least real Tina is wearing her emotion on her, you know, wearing her heart on her sleeve, letting her emotions run wild. Everyone knows she's angry and pissed. And Trump 2020, motherfucker, fuck out of here. Everyone knows how real Tina feels. But Christian Walker, he's trying to play it cool, calm, and collected. But we see right through you, Mr. Walker.
The media doesn't decide the election. Newsflash, liberals, MSNBC doesn't get to decide who's president. CNN doesn't decide who's president. The proper election process decides who's president. And baby girl, all the legal votes are going to be counted. We have recounts going on in certain states right now, like in Georgia. We're taking certain states to court. You thought this was over? You think Joe Biden is the president now? First of all, even if he was properly elected, he wouldn't be the president until January. He's not the president. It's still Donald J. Trump. And furthermore, this ain't over with yet. You think you can be fraudulent, cheat your way into the White House? All of this is going to come to light. Everything done in the dark will come to light. Those ballots you would drop off at 3 a.m. from the ballot ferry in certain states where Donald Trump was leading, it's going to come to light. All the ballots that have been dumped in dumpsters from the military, it's going to come to light. Every shady thing you've been doing, it's all going to come to light. Trumpians, don't give up. Why do you think liberals are running around acting deranged right now? Because they're trying to convince themselves that they've won. They want to convince their base that they're the rightful winners. Don't you worry, we will have our day in court. It ain't over yet, and we'll see them at the White House. Trump 2020, Maga, Trump, train.
Trump didn't lose yet. He's the ballot fairies and the fraudulent votes. When it's all said and done, he's still going to be the president until January, right? I mean, really now, come on. This guy is crying on the inside. That's basically all I heard. I mean, first of all, the funny thing is talking about throwing out Democrats throwing military votes in the dumpster. The Trump campaign Trump's lawyers were literally trying to throw out military votes in one of their lawsuits that came out. I think it was, what state was it? Was it Pennsylvania? Don't quote me on the state, but it just literally came out that one of their legal challenges to the voter count was to throw out some military ballots. I mean, there's what is, again, we talked about this earlier, illegal votes, fraudulent votes. These guys really love just throwing it to the courts, don't they? Like, what's the point of having elections? Just let the 9 Supreme Court justices just pull straws, I guess, and just decide who becomes president of the United States. Why do we even have election day? Why do we even bother getting, 150 million people out to vote or send in their mail-in ballots? Why do we even bother doing that if it's just like stage 1? And then stage 2 is the legal challenges, and stage 3 is the Elite 4. It's the Elite, and Pokemon, it's the Elite 9 with the Supreme Court. I mean, baby girl, I'm sorry, but Trump's lost, baby girl. What's another good one? Oh, this is a short little clip from Tucker Carlson on Fox News. A totally normal reaction to what Joe Biden is going to do. This was Tucker Carlson coming to the realization that Trump's not going to win.
These people seek absolute sameness, total uniformity. You're happy with your corner coffee shop. They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever, no matter how it tastes. That's the future they promise. Everyone doing the same thing.
Right. Joe Biden's, if you go to Joe Biden's website, you can see in the policy section that foie gras Starbucks is something that all Americans are going to be subjected to. They're going to take a funnel and they're going to force it down our throats. And we're all going to be force-fed double venti lattes. I don't even know coffee and shit like that. I have no idea what they're called, those drinks. But we're all going to drink Starbucks. I mean, this is what you do when you know you lost and you've got nothing to say. I mean, they always jump to their cultural issues because they always, when they lose. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world for them to try to win with, because they'll always have the ability to win some people over with this insane culture war rhetoric. I don't like Starbucks. What's another good one here? I got some more. Here's presidential spiritual advisor Paula White. This is someone who advised the president on all things religion. Let's see how she handled Trump's loss the day after the election.
Strike and 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 strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory. For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa right now. They're coming here. They're coming here. In the name of Jesus. From South America. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. From Africa. From South America. Angelic forces. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Pika hata anda ata. Ora bata rata anda eke eke manda rasata. For I hear the sound of victory. 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 I hear the sound of victory.
I love that. That's my favorite song. It's I love it. I love it. It's great. I just have to really credit that guy who's just randomly pacing back and forth on stage behind her. I don't know why that's so funny, but it is so funny. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I implore you to watch the video of at least that video for the young man pacing the stage behind her while she's doing this. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And as we all know, Joe Biden came from Africa to bring Satan to this country. Joe Biden is the African devil. I got a few more. We're not done yet. Let's see. Oh, this girl. Now, this girl has gone super viral on Facebook and TikTok. She's a conservative Trump supporter, and she's sort of gone viral because she's very young looking. But her delivery, she must really practice these lines where she's got a teleprompter in front of her. I don't know, but her delivery is so fast. She's like the female Ben Shapiro, to be honest. But even Ben Shapiro like stutters and stammers a lot. She is just like a rocket. I don't even know. I can't just listen to this. She sounds crazy. This is her reacting to the election. She's not very happy, very sad. But still, the delivery here from this girl is unbelievable. This is the savvy truth.
On November 2nd, I woke up in the greatest country in the world. On November 3rd, I woke up in the greatest country in the world. And on January 21st, I will wake up in the greatest country in the world. Joe Biden would have us believe that we are in for a dark, dark winter and that America will no longer be America. But I, alongside 75 plus million other American patriots, will not let that happen. The media has never and will never decide who our next president will be. That will be up to the courts. So for everyone involved in the cheating and in the fraud, who used the programs like Scorecard and Hammer, your time is coming because someone was watching you, and I'm not just talking about God. We have the greatest plumber ever elected into the office of the United States, Donald J. Trump, our 45th president, and he is about to make the final drain of the swamp. Because at long last, we finally have a president who puts America first. He had our backs through the face of adversity and all the evil thrown his way, and now it is time for us to have his. So hey, Democrats, don't tread on me, because if you want America, you can come take it.
Just incredible delivery. Just, I mean, she clearly is on another level. No need to breathe. No. I mean, I don't know what to say other than the fact that she's crazy. What is their obsession with the idea that the media calls this? The media just announces the results, and the results are people voting, and based on that, they're able to tell you who the next president of the United States is. The media is not deciding any of this. So weird, these guys. So weird. Also, the courts are gonna. The courts are. This is not go. If it was close, which is what Republicans were hoping, then they would probably fight to overturn this. But there is no judge that is going to throw out tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of votes in multiple states. You guys have to understand this. Trump isn't losing by one state's electoral votes. He is losing by multiple states' electoral votes. There's not going to be some turnaround where judges throw out multiple tens of thousands of votes in multiple states. It ain't happening. This ain't 2000 with a couple hundred votes in just Florida deciding the election. This is it. It's done. It's over with. The only question is, how many votes in total nationally will Joe Biden end up beating Trump by? Because in states like California and New York, they still count in those votes. Also, Don the plumber, really? Donald Trump the plumber? Draining the swamp? Have you paid attention to anything this guy's done in the 40 years? He's basically taken some alligators out of the swamp and then formed his own lagoon and basically just like drained that swamp water into his lagoon and kept some of those alligators out while putting in like 10 times the amount of alligators in his own swamp / lagoon. We ain't done, folks. We ain't done. We got how many more? Let's see. Oh, this is a story in of its own. Maybe I'll save this for last. Okay, so we got one more here, and I saved the best for last. Here's a compilation that I saw put together by the great Twitter account Tim Pool Clips, which basically clips some of Tim Pool's greatest hits on his show. Here's a compilation of Tim Pool assuring his viewers throughout the past few weeks and months that Donald Trump is cruising to a landslide victory, followed by him announcing the election results. Sit back, relax. I mean, maybe I should have warned you guys about this. You could have thrown some popcorn in the microwave, and we could have, sat back and enjoyed. But you can sit back and enjoy anyway. You just don't have any popcorn. I'm sorry. Next time I'll do better. Here's Tim Pool.
I think Kamala and Biden might be throwaway candidates. They know they're going to get steamrolled in the election. I really don't see the Democrats winning this. I think it's fair to say Trump's going to win re-election. I think Trump might have a massive, massive victory, which shocks the left. I think we're looking at a Trump victory, man. Trump 2020 landslide, even with everything going on with COVID. I think that's what we can expect. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trump had a 49-state landslide. I think we could see a 49-state landslide. We may be looking at a Mondale-Reagan type scenario where Trump landslides 49 states. And we may see a 49-state landslide, maybe a 50-state landslide. That'd be amazing. I think we might be seeing a 49-state landslide. I just really think it's more likely that Trump wins 520 electoral votes. No amount of mail-in ballots will matter. If Trump gets 537 or 36 or even 538 every single electoral vote. We all know Joe Biden will lose. Like, let's be real, man. As I've stated 1,000,001 times, Donald Trump's going to win. The Republicans are going to sweep. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden has defeated Donald Trump. Everything I've told you will be wrong and completely meaningless. So keep that in mind.
What kind of bubble are you in? What kind of bubble are you in to think that? I mean, listen, in 2016, I thought Trump had a good chance. I think there was a time period in September or early October, can't remember which, where maybe like a week or two where I thought Hillary had it. But then it became really clear to me that that wasn't going to be the case. And then the day before the election, especially when I saw Trump going to Michigan as his final rally, I thought that was very, very, very worrisome in 2016. I mean, clearly the Trump campaign in 2016 was well run in certain aspects, and they had a feeling they could win Michigan, so they prioritized it as the last rally stop, and they pulled off the upset and won Michigan in 2016. This time around, though, what? How can you think anything that Tim Pool just said? How? Like, if you're a Tim Pool fan, how do you watch that and trust this guy for any information anymore? This wasn't an off-the-cuff remark. This wasn't the guy shooting the shit and saying this once, maybe twice, in some sort of casual conversation. These are multiple different instances, I should say, of Tim Pool assuring his viewers that Trump is going to win. Not only will Trump win, it's going to be a landslide. Not only is it going to be a landslide, but it's going to be a 49-state, no, wait, hold up, maybe even 50-state sweep. And here's the cherry on top. The mail-in ballots are just not going to matter. This guy wasn't just wrong about the Trump win. He wasn't just wrong about the landslide. He wasn't just wrong about how many states Trump was going to win / now we know lose by. Not only was he wrong about the mail-in ballots not mattering, he was wrong about everything. How do you watch this guy with any sort of assurance that the information you're watching is going to educate you, keep you informed, let you know what's going on in the world? How? Even if you go to this guy so you can live in your echo chamber, so you can only hear the conservative news you want to hear, you still want to live in some sort of reality when it comes to stuff that you can't even make up to get your way out of it. I mean, you can convince yourself that the coronavirus vaccine is going to implant a chip in your body so Bill Gates can follow you all around and track you. Fine, you can convince yourself that because you could go through life never having to deal with the coronavirus vaccine because you could ignore it. But Trump lost. No matter what you think, even if you think it was fraudulent, he still will not be president come January 2021. Tim Pool, if he knew all this stuff, he should have warned you guys about this. How could he say all this stuff and Trump not be president in January 2021? Like, he didn't say, listen, Trump is going to rightfully win the election, but he's going to end up losing because of fraud. No, he outright stated to you guys that Trump was going to win handily. Handily. So, you know, I mean, the grift is strong. The grift is strong. Here is, now I wanted to get to this because this whole thing was really hilarious. The total, the Four Seasons total landscaping saga. Now, Trump sent his crack team of legal experts, led by Rudy Giuliani, to Pennsylvania, back when Pennsylvania wasn't called. And the Trump campaign, I mean, Pennsylvania at this point was the one holdout that was basically denying Biden of a victory. We now know that multiple other states were called that would give Biden a victory, but at this point, Pennsylvania was the holdout and the more obvious one, because this was one that Trump was leading by in large margins. Again, because of what I told you about the Pennsylvania GOP making sure those mail-in ballots weren't counted until after the election. And so they're counting these mail-in ballots, and overnight, this lead is shrinking. And the next day, this lead is shrinking. And the next day, this lead is shrinking. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden overtakes Trump in Pennsylvania. So you have Trump's crack legal team in Pennsylvania trying to fight this. And Trump says that there's going to be some big press conference at the Four Seasons in Pennsylvania. Well, apparently, someone, it's still unclear, I believe, but someone botched this whole thing, which really is the perfect encapsulation of Trump's 2020 campaign. Someone botched this whole thing. And they ended up booking the outside of a establishment called the Four Seasons Total Landscaping. Not a hotel, not the Four Seasons Hotel, literally a landscaping company. And if I remember correctly, it was the business was right smack dab in the middle of a crematorium business and a sex shop. So, kudos to whoever did that, because this is hilarious. But here's Rudy Giuliani, a clip from Rudy Giuliani's press conference. And this press conference happens to run just as the networks call the election for Joe Biden on Saturday. And just, you just have to watch this. It's hilarious. You can see he tries to play it off cool, calm, and collected, but I don't think he pulls it off. I mean, he plays it off just as well as he played off. He was tucking in his shirt during the Borat movie when he was laying down on the bed, hands in his pants, with Borat's daughter in the room with him. Here is that clip.
The poll?
The press is telling him that
because they don't decide the election. The call for Joe Biden is it? Who was it called by? Oh my goodness, all the networks. Wow. All the networks. We have to forget about the law. Judges don't count. All the networks thought Biden was going to win by 10%. Gee, what happened? Come on, don't be ridiculous. Networks don't get to decide elections. Courts do.
First of all, I don't know any poll aggregate that said that Trump was going to lose by 10%. I think when all is said and done, Biden's going to win by 5%, which sounds quite in line with some of those national polls. Again, it's very hard to poll the states, we're seeing. And the problem with the national polls is that they seem pretty accurate, but we don't have a system in this country that takes all the votes and the winner of all the votes wins. Sadly enough. I mean, that would just be ridiculous to do that, right? Who would do that? So when we know a pretty close prediction for what the national vote is going to be, we still don't quite know how that's going to play out in the States, because the state polling, we're not there yet, apparently, from what I've seen. But man, was Giuliani doing that Wojak again that we saw from some of those earlier clips, right? He was like, all the networks. All the networks. We're not going to believe all the networks, are we, guys? I mean, the networks don't call the election. It's all for the courts to decide, right? I mean, that's really what he's doing here. Oh man, I wanted to go through so much more, but we're over an hour here now. I'm gonna go into that I wanna one more thing for the freebies, and then we'll go into this second half of the show, and I'll take calls and we'll talk about read the comments and everything. Again, youtube.com/MattBinder. And you could leave a super chat and I'll definitely get to your comment or question. So after the election, there were a number of conspiracy theories that were flying around, and I'm just gonna quickly summarize a few of them for you really quick. Maybe I'll go further into them later on, but QAnon. This one was really flooding the social media platforms from QAnon for a while, and it was the idea that the watermarks was going to save Donald Trump. Now you might be questioning, you're saying to yourself, watermarks, Matt, what are you talking about? Well, you see, guys, it's quite simple. Let me lay this out. It's when you hear me explain this to you, you're gonna just slap yourself across the face and you're gonna say to yourself, what was it? So obvious, Matt. Watermarks. What so stupid was I? I mean, makes total sense. So way back when, Q posted on 8chan a phrase. Simply, he said, "Watch the waters." Now, the QAnon believers had no idea what Q meant when he said this, but after the election, it became so clear to them. What Q meant when he said "watch the waters" was that Donald Trump, who always, by the way, plays 12th dimensional chess, secretly had hidden watermarks placed on all the real, legit, legal ballots. And now you see, you guys got to understand this here. The Democrats did not know that Donald Trump did this. The Democrats had no idea that Donald Trump put these watermarks on these ballots. So what happened is that the Democrats printed up all these fake, fraudulent, illegal ballots without the watermark, submitted them, and they were all counted in these counts that we have right now. Now, when they do the recounts, what's going to happen is they're going to check for the watermarks. The people in the know, the Trump administration, is going to check for these watermarks. And when they do that, they're going to put all the non-watermark ballots in the trash. And all the watermark ballots, the legal ballots obviously, are going to count. And when that happens, you're looking at a 49-50 state landslide for Trump. I mean, that's just... Now do you guys feel stupid for not knowing what I was talking about when I told you about the watermarks? I mean, really. Come on. Guys. Get with the program. Come on. So that was one conspiracy theory. The other one was Sharpiegate, which was... It wasn't as fun as the watermark one, but just as stupid. So Sharpiegate was... There was this bizarre rumor that started spreading. Again, on social media. It was actually the rumor that caused that huge Arizona rally outside of one of the election centers in Arizona, where the authorities there got worried about the poll workers' safety because the protest outside was growing. People chanting "count the votes" in Arizona while Donald Trump is tweeting, "Stop the votes everywhere, stop the count everywhere else." It was amazing to see. One state scream, "Count the votes because of misinformation online," where Donald Trump was screaming on Twitter to stop counting votes because he didn't want to lose. So they were worried about people's safety, actually. And Alex Jones ended up showing up to one of these protests outside these election centers in Arizona, too. It was insanity. But anyway, it was sparked, those real-life protests were sparked by the Sharpiegate misinformation. Basically, the conspiracy was that Trump supporters were handed Sharpies to fill out their ballots on Election Day at the polls in Arizona. And the reason they were handed Sharpies is because Sharpie markers invalidate your ballot. Did you guys know this? If you filled out your ballot with a Sharpie marker, it would be invalidated. So the poll workers in Arizona were purposely giving Trump supporters Sharpie markers to fill out their ballots, and they were unknowingly filling out their ballots, which basically threw their ballots right in the trash. Everything I just said is bullshit, by the way. It's just bullshit. Because Arizona election officials came out and said this is not true. First of all, no Trump supporter was handed... the Trump supporters weren't being handed Sharpies. And second of all, on top of that, markers wouldn't invalidate your ballot. It's fine. They'd still be counted, they said. So, just amazing. Just amazing. These guys were protesting something that just wasn't true. It just wasn't happening. And their protest was actually fighting up against the messaging that their guy, Donald Trump, wanted. Interestingly enough. Just insane. Incredible. And then you had the Stop the Steal groups, obviously, which basically these growing Facebook groups. One gained 300,000 members in 2 days before Facebook shut it down because they said they were seeing calls for real life violence in that group. But the idea that the election is being stolen from Donald Trump, and these were all illegal ballots that were putting Joe Biden over the top. And, the last conspiracy I want to bring up was incredible. So you guys might have seen these videos that showed, there was a few of them going around, that showed poll workers sitting at a table, sitting across from each other at a table. So one poll worker on this side, one poll worker on this side, table in the middle. One is filling out a ballot with a pen, and the other one is reading off another ballot. What's going on here, conservatives thought? Is that a poll worker filling out a new ballot? And there's multiple videos of this. These poll workers are clearly filling out ballots after the election is over, after the polls have closed. And obviously these ballots they're filling out are for Joe Biden. Who else would they be for? And that's where all these new illegal votes are coming from after Trump had this lead, obviously. Except, again, that's not the case. And this has been debunked by multiple states now. What these videos show is that some states, and these states also added that this is a rule that was passed and was agreed to by both Democrats and Republicans in these states. This isn't something that, one side got to, in these states, it was a term that was agreed to by both parties. That if a machine could not read a ballot that arrived on time on Election Day, or before Election Day, I should say, if a machine couldn't read a valid ballot, then a poll worker, under the supervision of poll watchers, could fill out a new ballot. Basically, they would fill in the exact bubbles that were visible, that were filled out on the ballot that the machine couldn't read. So basically, what you're seeing in that video is one poll worker say, okay, this ballot that the machine won't read, okay, fill this out. A vote for Donald Trump for president, and the person on the side is filling that in. A vote for so-and-so for Senate, the person on the side is filling that in. So the funny thing is they're complaining about these videos claiming they show proof of illegal votes against Donald Trump. And what you're really seeing is someone making sure that every vote counted. And even votes that were valid that a machine couldn't read for technical glitch reasons would be counted if they were for Trump as well. Just, these guys are just, not only are their conspiracies wrong, but their conspiracies actually actively work against them. It's just amazing to see. Just amazing to see. It's amazing. Amazing to see. I don't know what else to say. Oh, I didn't get to talk about Parlor and MeWe and how conservatives are flocking to these right-wing social media platforms in order to protect their free speech. I mean, they're really pissed at Facebook and Twitter for rolling out these anti-misinformation policies and adding these warning labels and fact checks to Trump's tweets and Facebook posts in order to make sure people were getting legitimate factual information on election day and post-election. I mean, Trump was hit, and the Trump campaign and the Trump team and Trump's children and Trump's advisors and Trump's surrogates were constantly being hit with fact checks and labels basically saying this is being disputed, what's in this post or tweet is disputed. The election, even though this person is saying they won the election or won the state, this is untrue. It hasn't been called yet. We don't know who's won yet. And they really got pissed about their inability to be able to successfully lie. So they've been going to these right-wing friendly platforms called Parlor and MeWe. I mean, these two apps are currently sitting at the top of the free app charts in Apple's App Store. I mean, so they are quite popular right now among the right, and they're gaining traction. But I don't know if you guys remember, but some of these apps also gained traction over the summer before falling out of favor with the right because there's not enough people using them on a daily basis. And if there's no audience on these sites and your content isn't getting likes and shares and other engagement, then you're just talking to a wall and there's no point to being on these sites. So they end up going back to Twitter and Facebook anyway. But we'll get more into Parlor and more into MeWe. I'll do like an episode running the two of those down and breaking them down for you. Maybe I'll do that next week. Maybe it'll be that next week's episode. But I do want to point out how interesting it is that, one of the reasons that some of these conservatives and conspiracy theorists are leaving Facebook and Twitter is because, they can't lie and share misinformation without fact checks. And a lot of the lies and misinformation they're spreading, whether it is about COVID or not, it's actually influenced by COVID because a lot of these people fell down the rabbit hole and became influenced by these far right-wing personalities and outlets and started sharing conspiracy theories because of the boom in right-wing conspiracy theories that the coronavirus lockdowns brought from people being home and reading so much of this straight up crap on social media while they were, had nothing to do and they were bored at their computers. So I do want to point out how ironic it is that these folks who are so anti-lockdown and anti-quarantines, that they want to share this anti-lockdown, anti-quarantine misinformation on Twitter and Facebook. And when they get hit with, these sites and platforms policies that basically may remove this stuff or may just limit its spread or may just add a little fact check next to their content, they get so angry about this that they flock to these conservative social media platforms, effectively, in essence, self-quarantining themselves. I mean, literally, that's what they're doing. Like, when we talk about misinformation, there's two major two main and major points to misinformation. One is the claims themselves, right? And then two, it's the spread of these claims. That's what makes it extra dangerous. Like, one conspiracy theorist sharing out information that's anti-mask is obviously bad. But if that shit spreads to millions of people on Facebook, that's much worse. So these guys are basically, let's say believing coronavirus misinformation, believing that it's all a hoax, it's a pandemic, it's not real, the masks won't help you, I refuse to quarantine because it takes away my freedoms. Let's say believing that stuff makes you a COVID patient in this analogy. And being on Facebook and Twitter is effectively going to work, or going to the supermarket, or going to a big box store where there's hundreds of people, or going to a concert where there's thousands of people, or just taking a walk outside among people and being in large groups, knowing you're sick, and you don't give a shit because you don't believe it's real. Okay, that's a problem. But then if you go to these conservative networks where, you go from Facebook with 2.6 billion people, or Twitter with 350 plus million people, and you go to these conservative networks where there's just maybe 3 to 5 million people, you are effectively just quarantining yourself with other COVID patients, limiting the spread, and we'll keep you there until I guess you are cured of the misinformation and the conspiracy theories. And if that's never the case, I guess you'll just continue quarantining on those platforms until, one day you just stop spreading this shit. Congrats for escaping the Big Brother lockdowns and the almighty fist of the self-quarantine. All right, folks, that is the freebie half of the show. I will go to the second half now and take some calls, read some comments and questions. But before that, patreon.com/MattBinder. Support this show, please, if you can. Patreon.com/MattBinder. Really appreciate it. And when I say please, if you can, I want to reiterate, if you cannot, I know times are tough. It's going to be, might be a tough couple months ahead with the coronavirus. The rate seems to be rising everywhere. I hope no one has to lose their job anymore. And if you already lost your job, I hope you found something. And if not, I hope you've found some way to mutual aid or help from whatever. There's a lot of good organizations out there I know doing the work. If you cannot afford to give me anything, please don't. There's free ways to support this show. By going to youtube.com/MattBinder, subscribing, by following me on all sorts of social media platforms @MattBinder or search MattBinder, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. You know the drill. Subscribe to the podcast at doomedpod.com. Leave that free iTunes review. Leave that iTunes review. That's I asked for it before. Leave that iTunes review. But if you can afford to subscribe, I would just love to put more into this show. And I don't just mean time. I don't, that's a big thing, but I also mean just like being able to get better equipment, properly soundproof this new room. I have a room now, which means that a room just for, I have a room, but now I have a separate room just for, I got 2 kids, so of course I got a room, but now I got a separate room just for doing the show. It's like my own little studio. We moved somewhere that happened to have, no one would call this a room. This is essentially a fairly nice-sized closet. So it's like my own little studio, and I'd like to, properly set it up so I could, do those standalone YouTube videos I've been teasing you guys for weeks, if not months. Do more live stream content. Just, be able to just jump in here and just do something like that. Right now, I'm still dealing with every time I do the show, I got to set things up. The cool thing about having this a dedicated space for this now is that won't be the case. It'll be a lot easier to just jump right into doing the show. So patreon.com/MattBinder, if you could afford to do so. Help build this show, help grow this show. I really appreciate the support. I'm going to be rolling out new Patreon tiers. I know I said that a couple of weeks ago, but now that the election's over and hopefully with the holidays coming like Thanksgiving and Christmas, there'll be a little bit of downtime. Like I've been honestly, like between moving and then doing multiple versions of this show and then being a guest on multiple shows and then doing the Majority Report and then obviously my full-time job of writing for Mashable, doing reporting there. It's been, I've been super busy. So hopefully with this downtime, I could sit down, knock out those new tiers. I want to get you guys some swag. Doom swag. I want to roll out like t-shirts, stickers, things like that. Just being able to put some time and effort. And I want to put some new goals on the Patreon too. So I could give you guys a more solid outlook of like what will get me to where I need to go. Listen, if eventually there's enough patrons and enough Patreon funds coming in that I could do this show like multiple times a week, and then maybe eventually full-time type deal, I would love to do that. But we're not there yet. But I need to let you guys know when we get there. We're still very far. But yeah, that's it. That's the rundown. That's the breakdown, folks. So thanks for sticking around. Freebies, giving you guys lots of extra material today on this episode. We're at an hour and a half now. Patrons, stick around right now on the live stream. We're gonna, another, freebie. Another half of the show to go. Not another hour and a half, but another 30 to 45 minutes of the show to go. And we'll have some fun reading comments, taking calls. Otherwise, see you all next time on Doomed. All right, we're back. Back on the patron half of the show. Again, super chats at youtube.com/MattBinder. I will read your comments, questions for sure that way. In fact, I'll read some super chats right now. Renee says, the other right can't cope. Midnight Pizzaman says, Map Binder needs a new shirt. Well, actually, I'm wearing my Choking Victim shirt today, specifically because yesterday, sad news that the longtime bassist of Choking Victim and Leftover Crack, Alec, sadly passed away. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, although Leftover Crack's announcement of his untimely death hints at suicide. Very sad. This is a band that, quite honestly, is one of my favorite bands of all time, if not my favorite band of all time. Choking Victim and Leftover Crack. It's practically the same group. Incredibly influential to me in terms of like my musical taste, and also, as you guys know, I played in a punk band for many years throughout high school and college. Played many venues in New York: Irving Plaza, CBGB's, Knitting Factory, etc., all the big venues in New York. Most of the big venues in New York. Didn't play like MSG or anything like that. And quite honestly, I don't know if I would have picked up the bass if it wasn't for a band like Leftover Crack. They were, and Alec being the bass player, I wanted to play bass like that. Someone like, they were bassists like Matt Freeman of Rancid that were just like so good, but his bass lines were so like, and he's so good, and you know, overly complicated. I'm not knocking that. That's great. Rancid's a great band. And Matt's a great bassist, but you know, as someone who just wanted to play like quick in your face punk and just wanted to pick up an instrument and learn it, Leftover Crack, Alec Leftover Crack and Choking With Them was a bassist that perfectly was in between. He created some super great, catchy, in my opinion, some of the greatest bass lines in punk rock. I mean, listen to the song 500 Channels by Choking Victim. And that bass line will get stuck in your head. Listen to the bass line during the ska part of Infested, the song Infested, and you will be like, oh man, that's super catchy. He you know, it was super good. And super just perfect for someone who wanted to learn complicated bass lines but was still like a beginner. And they were super catchy, and I just learned a lot I just learned a lot listening to that band in terms of you know, my musical influences, and also very political bands. Obviously, growing up in high school, you know, bands like Leftover Crack and Anti-Flag were very you know, and they got me into more political, like well, you know, Leftover Crack is very political, and so is Anti-Flag, but they even got me into, you know, more political but less known bands. Like a lot of crust punk bands I got into were very political. You know, I don't know if I would have got into like even a bigger punk band like Crass or a band like Conflict if I didn't discover Anti-Flag and Leftover Crack first. So, you know, I'm wearing this shirt today, and I wore it on the Majority Report earlier today, basically as a sign of respect. Samantha says with a super chat, I got shit-faced Friday night waiting for the call. Right. Oh, by the way, if you want to call into Skype, I've opened that up now. Doomed Live. Go to Skype, typed in Doomed Live. I think the actual username is Doomed Live _1. Again, I said I was going to change that to something simpler, but if you search Doomed Live, it'll come up. I will take 1 or 2 Skype calls. Doomed Live. Oh my God. Andy with a super chat. Mac, check your DMs. And I've checked my DMs. And Jesus Christ. This is fantastic. Let me see if I could he sent me this GIF. I gotta tweet this out. Oh, that's great. That is great. Thank you, Andy, for that gift. See, more people gotta do that stuff. You want to help spread? I gotta call for that shit too sometimes, maybe. If anyone wants to spread shit like this, that would be hilarious. That's a good way to get the word out about this show too. Oh, we got a call. Let's go to the phones. You are calling from, is this Mariah?
Yes, it is, Maddie B.
Hey, Mariah. I see you have the video on. Would you mind if I pulled you up on the video?
Sure.
Everybody, this is Mariah. I don't know if a long time. I don't know how long you've been listening to this show, but you are, since you've been listening to this show, I'm pretty sure you've been watching like every episode.
Pretty much. I try to catch the live streams. I've been listening since like February.
Well, thank you for being such a big fan of the show. I really appreciate it. And you gave us the I think that's why I bring this up every time you call in. You gave us the Was it Oregon? Is that where you're from, or Washington? I can't remember now.
Oregon, Portland, Oregon.
Oregon. Did I say Oregon? Oregon. You called in when there was the wildfires, and you said you were about to evacuate. And then I said, hey, do you mind if you stick around for like 20 minutes while I bombard you with questions? Yeah, but I appreciate that, and I appreciate you calling in now. What would you like to talk about today, Mariah?
Well, I have two things. Also, sorry if my dog has a squeaky toy that I'll try and mute myself when he's loud. One thing is my sisters sent me this message the other day that's like a screenshot of something that my brother posted on Facebook. He was responding to a comment that my mom, I don't even know the context because I blocked my brother on Facebook like a long time ago. He says, good Catholics around the world and good Americans of all faiths should be praying for Donald Trump to win this election because leftism, capital L, is evil in every way, shape, and form.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, I mean,
is your brother a good Catholic? Because shouldn't show him my shirt. The Catholics did break for Trump, but it was close. It was, I think, 49% for Biden, at least in the early exit polls, which are never all that reliable. But I haven't seen anything else. But it seems like the Catholics did break for Trump, but just a percentage point or two. I mean, I'm technically a Catholic. I don't practice, and I don't consider myself to be a Catholic, even though I never unbaptized myself. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. So if I interrupt this stream with a sneeze, forgive me. But I don't know. I think, for the most part, when it comes to the major Christianity sects, Catholics tend to be more progressive in terms of, they're certainly not evangelicals, but at the same time they're not like those super progressive Christianity groups that allow gay people to get married, and also that allow women to become pastors. They're not that. I forget what those denominations are called. I feel like saying Lutheran, or but I may be wrong about that. But yeah, Catholics.
The Episcopalians are the kind of the main one that are Catholic, but with all of these more progressive kind of practices outside the doctrine.
Right. And of course, the main thing to get to here, as I'm talking about Catholics, is that Joe Biden's a Catholic. And he's very Catholic. He's Irish Catholic, which is about as Catholic as you can get. Yeah. I guess the Roman Catholics, the Italians are gonna be sending me angry messages saying how they're more Catholic. But between those two groups, that's as Catholic as you get.
Pretty much. And yeah, it was a big thing in the Romney, Ryan, Obama, Biden, the 2012 election, that debate between Joe Biden and Paul Ryan, they're both Catholics, but they're these other opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of politics. And I was attending Catholic high school when that debate happened, and it was a big, discussion.
Damn.
I saw
making me feel old. I was working at the Majority Report, doing a live commentary with Sam and Michael Brooks when you were watching that debate in high school.
Wow, man, I can't imagine how things would be different for me if I'd found the Majority Report in high school.
How was let's talk Mariah's youth. What were you progressive in high school, or were you how were you then? Were you learning about progressivism? Were you where were your politics in high school?
Well, in high school, I was just kind of I started out pretty conservative, I guess, because I grew up in a conservative family. Both my parents were kind of involved in Republican politics locally, and my brother's my older brother's in the military. and we saw where he went. But then I went to this kind of like, I guess it's kind of a liberal, like inner city Catholic school, and Portland being kind of like a progressive, quote unquote, progressive city in a lot of ways. I got exposed to like a lot of different types of people, and a lot of my professors in high school were, had come from Jesuit universities, so they were the more like liberal, progressive kind of academic people in terms of religion. And
we had a very similar high school experience. I mean, like I said, I was baptized, raised Catholic. My mom wanted me to go to Catholic private school, so for high school I went to Catholic private school. Went to a school that had Franciscan brothers.
Yep.
It's actually I know this because I remember this being something that was actually a worry. We were evacuated on 9/11 because I was a sophomore in high school for 9/11, while you were, I assume, Mariah,
first grade,
sucking a binky with your in a crib or something. We were evacuated because there was a real worry because we were the largest private religious school in the country. I don't know if that's still the case.
Whoa.
Yeah, I went to St. Francis Prep, which I think most people knowing that I lived in Queens my whole life, could have figured that out because it's in Queens as well. And so, most of my friends were actually in public school. Most of my friends were not in that school. So, I certainly, unlike you though, I don't think there were many progressives in that school. I can guarantee, in fact, there was this made some news actually, in New York at least when it happened. But one of the religious teachers, years after I had graduated, one of the religious teachers came out as a transgender woman.
Whoa.
And she was a very popular teacher. And a lot of her former students actually came out to support her, which again, the students were probably fairly progressive, but the school basically went out of their way to find a way to fire her. And there was like a whole lawsuit and everything, and just they really tried to like denigrate her name. And unfortunately, before the lawsuit ended unfortunately, she just suddenly died of like a heart attack or something. A really sad situation, but yeah.
Whoa.
Not a good experience going there.
Brutal. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I got pretty lucky, but and then I think the thing that really radicalized me, like in probably my senior year, was I had a religion teacher who he taught us like Hegel and Marx and like all kinds of stuff that was not part of the religion curriculum, and he got in trouble a lot for doing that, for going off book, but it was a good class.
Yeah. It sounds like I mean, if you got my radicalization was hands down 9/11. For me, it still is probably one of the most, and I mean, it's the turning point in my life in terms of just how it shaped me in every way, shape, and form. Obviously, politics-wise, I mean, music-wise, just everything. I mean, living in New York, and I mean, I saw it. It was, just something that changed everything. Honestly, I think the way kids grow up now is never, and I think this might be the case all over the country, but certainly in New York, there was a distinct change in people, in high school and junior high, hanging out outside and just, walking around town on the weekends, and just
talking to strangers.
Right, and just loitering at night on Saturday nights, right? There was the distinct change that I viewed because I was doing it before 9/11, and then people hanging out after 9/11. A lot less of it. A lot more people went indoors or weren't allowed to go out late at night. And then once that whole hysteria sort of went away after a few years, the internet already took over and it never quite went back. And you don't see that anymore. Like, you used to just be, when I was in the early years of high school, you would just go out and you could find, just run into 20 different cliques of friends, from like 20 different schools. And it was like, oh, just a Saturday night, whatever. And then after 9/11, it was like, just like it was like a desert. Like, it was just ridiculous. And this is in Queens. So,
Right.
A city-esque suburb at the most, where it wasn't so much, where it's not looking like Manhattan or certain parts of Brooklyn. It's still like a fairly urban suburb.
Mm-hmm. It's wild to think about, how things changed in New York City and surrounding areas. Because obviously I was a little younger when it happened, so I don't really remember it. But I don't think it had that kind of an impact out here, because it's just not the same.
Right. Well, I'll never forget the conservatives all over the country who acted like they were just as affected. Like, again,
right.
if you're
New
from
York was their home.
Yeah. Right. I mean, listen, if you lost someone in there, I totally get it. No matter where you are, obviously you were the most affected. It's unfortunate that actually your mourning will always be connected to this sort of national event. You can never really privately mourn this person you lost, and it's the whole situation is very sad. But I'm not talking about those people. But I'm talking about like the conservatives from nowhere in Wyoming, who knew no one there, knew no one in New York, and was just like, no one was more attacked than me. Or they're just really trying to act like this was like they were just as affected as this. But just
right.
I don't think it's just, and this isn't like a race to whoever could claim it as their own. It's just like, no, it's like just like a fact. Like, why are you trying to use this shit for your own agenda? Like, that's what it comes down to. Like, that's why they say that shit.
Exactly.
Some sort of like a Islamophobic sort of push to try to act like.
Right.
The Muslims are coming to attack them or some shit, which is just disgusting in its own
exactly. Right. Why the hell would they come to your small town, in Nebraska or wherever?
Right.
When they can hit the centers of capital in New York City.
Right. Why would Al Qaeda or ISIS bother with your small town in the middle of the country when they know that the busloads of Antifa will take care of that? I mean, why would they need to come from Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria when they know that the busloads are coming in from Chicago and New York and San Francisco to take down your small town? I mean, it's just not, Al Qaeda doesn't need to worry about that.
No.
I honestly feel like a blast from the past just from saying fucking Al Qaeda. I mean, that's how.
Yeah.
It's ISIS even feels like a distant memory.
I was thinking that today. I was watching some old. I don't know what I was watching. I was watching some old news clips, and Trump was talking about a couple years ago, talking about how he defeated ISIS. He personally defeated ISIS, and I was like, wait, what? When was the last time we heard anything about ISIS? Seems like forever ago.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, Trump successfully defeated them. So yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing that like everyone brings up how there were all those terrorist attacks under Obama. Well, yeah, because Obama and there's criticism too, obviously, but Obama. If we're talking strictly about the reason why you don't hear about ISIS anymore, it's because Obama really was instrumental in making sure they were no longer a threat, which is why they attacked the country as much as they did. When
right.
they did. By the time Trump came around, there were those early years where they were still but they were already being decimated. Like, they were already losing ground in Iraq and Syria when Trump came into office. Like, Trump basically, Trump pulled the United States in World War II, basically. He basically just fucking came in, Russia was the USSR was already defeating the Nazis, and the U.S. just comes in, and we're like, oh, here we are to rescue Europe. I mean,
yep.
It's basically, and
then take all the credit.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it is.
Well, I'll let you take another call or do whatever you want to do. But can I plug my new project really fast?
Ooh, I gotta hear this project from Mariah. Go ahead.
So a friend of mine who lives in Oakland and I started a podcast called Un-American Activities. It
look at
is
this.
it's a cinema
Mariah's a
critique podcast.
podcaster now. Mariah's a podcaster.
We haven't recorded our first episode yet. We have an intro up on Spotify and everything. But yeah, it's called Un-American Activities, and we're gonna watch like Red Dawn, movies like that, just like crazy anti-communist like propaganda movies, and analyze them and talk shit basically about like how anti-communism is a religion in America.
Right. That sounds like a great podcast, if you ask me. That's a great name, by the way. Un-American Activities. I mean,
Thank you.
I mean, you could have started a band with that name, actually.
You should check out our cover art. I think you'd like it. It's got a horror movie kind of theme to it.
Ooh. So, by the way, I am all for promoting. You could ask the Bad Praxis guys. I had them on the show actually for one of the post-debate shows I did. So feel free to reach out when you got like a few episodes up there and wanna promote. And I'd be happy to have you guys on. As like we could do an episode about exactly that, about communist film, and it'll be fun. Did I just drop? We got frozen here. Let's Uh-oh. Well, thank you for the call, Mariah, and I appreciate that, and I'm serious about you coming on the show. Feel free to when you got some episodes up so we could promote it. Also, I want to point out, by the way, that before calling in, Mariah, you sent a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, but you sent the super chat saying, "Get some sleep, Maddie B." Which I would argue that you calling in, obviously, does not help that whatsoever. And yeah, it did freeze, as BA points out. It did freeze perfectly. What a frame to freeze on. Mariah was making a very, I don't know, were you shocked? What were you shocked about, Mariah? Back to the super chats. Renee says, I like the rap version with the bopping cat. This was talking about one of those conservative videos, right? And then, what else? We got Saul with a super chat. Thank you, Saul, saying, Matt is GOAT. Oh, why thank you. I am the greatest of all time. Oh my God, it's 11 p.m., isn't it? Ooh. All right, so I gave you guys a half an hour of content. Freebies. I'll go a little bit longer because I'll give you like 5 more minutes so you get the full half an hour, right? And we could take one more call if there's another caller who wants to call. And there was someone actually, but they dropped off. Call back in if you'd like. But yeah. Let's see what else we got here in the comment section. Some good comments. Let's talk about, really quick, the ridiculousness of this attack between on AOC for just basically dropping legitimate critique of the Democratic Party following the election. She basically, so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's just one district over from me. I literally am just blocks from her district. She basically created a great conversation, in my estimation. Obviously, other people did not agree. On Twitter the other day, basically talking about how Dems are failing on the front of basically modernizing the electoral strategy, their electoral game, their campaigning game. They're not taking full advantage of digital strategies. They're not. I mean, we see it. They're just ceding ground to the right all over Facebook. Especially, but also Twitter, YouTube, and everywhere else. They just let the right basically control social media. And it's going to be a bigger and bigger problem as more and more people get their news and information from the internet. And she basically leveled that critique, and everyone attacked her for it, basically saying, they didn't even read what she said. They basically attacked her saying, well, two parts. A, they attacked her for this claim that, again, she didn't say, that they had to be progressive like her, the moderates in the Democratic Party, who lost, by the way. The progressives won their down ballot races, and all the races that the Democrats lost and they gave up seats in the House for were moderate Democrats who just blew it, frankly. But so the attacks leveled at her are that you can't be as progressive as you are in certain districts, which we see time and time again is not true. And then the other thing is that they're blaming like activists and Black Lives Matter and defund the police rhetoric for these losses. And again, that's not true. Also, you can't blame activists. Oh, we got another call. Let me take the call so we don't lose it. What? This is... Oh my God. Is this Ryan? Ryan, what's going on, buddy? This happened last time you tried to call in. All right, try it one more time. But anyway, back to AOC. He's calling in again. Let's... Oh, whoa. All right, let's try Ryan. I'll take the other call too if you give me a second. Just stay on the line or call back in as soon as I'm done with this one. Ryan, you there?
Hey, what up, Maddie?
How you doing, buddy?
Hey, love the show. Just wanted to say, loving it. But hey, I had a quick question.
Sure.
I wanted to, maybe you talked about this, but if not, I just want to get your take on it. There's a lot of these kind of, I don't know what you would call them, like internet right-wingers who are saying, they're saying stuff like the Republican state legislatures should just choose their own electors. Have you heard this meme that's going on?
Yes, they're going to try to do that. And I mean, the Democrats, not the Democrats, but there were like fringe elements of the resistance, if you remember, in 2016 that wanted to try to do something like that. Remember what was it called? Like the Hamilton Electors or something like that?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
And it just didn't work because it's ridiculous. Obviously, it's a little bit more dangerous that they're going to try to do it because unlike the resistance tried to do in 2016, a lot of those electors were basically like, this is no. Whereas this time it seems like there are a number of electors that are pro-Trump and might want to try to do that. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be successful there. It's just, can you imagine being someone that does that, especially in this scenario where it's just like an all-around complete loss for Trump? Like, there's not an Electoral College win. There's not a popular vote win. It's just he lost. It's done. It's over. I don't see it happening. And I remember in 2016 there were a number of states that went out of their way to pass laws to make sure that the electors had to actually vote the way their state voted. I mean, the idea that there's actual electors, to me, it's just, the whole thing is just so, I mean, the Electoral College in general is just so stupid. And exactly. the idea that you would let people vote and then we could still have the electors change their mind, it's just fucking ludicrous, to be quite frank. Like, and if they can't change the vote, then it's all just for show. So why have them even? Like, it's just so stupid. So much of this country is built upon just this antiquated system that they just refuse to change because of tradition and the founding fathers. It's just enough already. Enough, you know?
Yeah, it's really dumb. I think it's probably the ultimate like Cope level. Though it's like it's the ultimate like we still got a chance.
Right.
But,
I mean,
yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen.
I thought it was so stupid when they did it in 2016 too. Like, you're basically saying that the election's pointless. There's no reason to do it. Why have 150 million people vote if just a couple of dumb fucks could just turn around a couple of weeks later and say nope? You know, I mean, no.
It's a joke. It's stupid. Well, I'll let you go. It sounds like you got a lot of people on there. Could I plug my little YouTube channel too?
Oh, please, by all means.
Yeah, it's just RM Brown on YouTube.
RM?
M as in Mary, yeah.
M as in Mary. Got it. So RM Brown YouTube. I will check it out. And
Cool, thanks. Yeah, keep up the great work. I love the show. I love the work you do on Majority Report, too.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, later, dude.
Take care. All right, if that other caller wants to call in, please feel free. I'm going to message you now. Hey, call in now if you want. And then this will be it. This will be the last call I take, and then we'll wrap it up. Let me see if there's any more super chats. Just want to make sure I get to all of them. Nope, all caught up with super chats. And I'll give you another minute there for that call-in. Oh, yeah, the AOC thing. It's just ridiculous. First of all, it's ridiculous that you try to blame someone for the progressive for centrist losses. It's just not true. Oh, there they are. Here we go. Hey, what's up? You're calling into the show. You are now on the line.
Hello, Matt. Good to be talking to you.
Hey, who's this?
This is Sina.
Hey, Sina. Thanks for calling in. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for taking my call. I had a question about the most popular right-wing figure on YouTube.
Sure.
I have been following Tim Pool. I haven't been following him, but I've known him. I knew who he was since a couple of years ago, but I have been following him more and more past few months. And just, it blows my mind how many viewers he gets and, you know, the knowledge that he doesn't have, if you ask me. But you know, how many people watch him, listen to him. I find it crazy. Just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Right. He is someone who is basically, he's an interesting character all around because he wasn't always like this, or at least this far. Basically, I think his case is that he just found a way to game YouTube. Because he's not exceptionally good at, like, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Say what you want about Alex Jones. Terrible person. Crazy. What he did to the Sandy Hook family is obviously disgusting. I mean, I think he's a bad guy. But with all that said, it just... He's a very talented broadcaster, yes.
Right. Same thing we said about Shapiro in a different way, right? He does have some qualities that, you know, if someone looks at him, might be, okay, that guy is smart, you know.
Right. There are people on, and then, you know, Steve Crowder, I think he's very dumb and not funny, but there's a little bit of charisma and personality there. I get it. I don't get why he's so big, but I get it. But Tim Pool, there's not one thing I can give him. Like, he's not a good broadcaster. Like, he's not talented at his delivery. He doesn't have an interesting gimmick. He doesn't have an interesting sort of angle or take. He got big basically just reading articles verbatim and then just dropping some far right analysis at the end, which honestly 9 out of 10 times was just wrong to begin with too. To me, he just figured out a way to game YouTube's algorithm. Like, there's a reason the guy has 4 different channels. Like, the other guys we just mentioned, they don't have 4 different channels. I think Tim Pool, I don't know exactly what he did, but I think the reason he's got 4 channels is because he tried different shit with them. Like, he tried, I don't know if he did like SEO, like testing on different channels, or if it was actually like the actual content he created. But I think if someone who like a data guy or like an analytics person, unfortunately I'm not that good with that type of stuff. But if someone in that realm was to sit down with Tim Pool's channels and just pull all that shit and compare it to his content, I do wonder if there's something to that in terms of, like, he's got 4 channels because he basically tried to figure out a way to perfect gaming the YouTube algorithm, and he ended up basically just pulling it off and then being able to build all those channels. Because the dude's got 4 channels one of them has over 1 million subscribers. 2 of them has close to 1 million subscribers. And all 3 of them, and 3 out of the 4 of them, he regularly, on a daily basis, updates. They're all monetized. They all have unique content. Some of them he runs his live stream on. Some of them he just posts those clips I mentioned, where he's just like reading articles. And each one of them gets hundreds of thousands of views. The guy's making tens of thousands of dollars a month doing this shit. I mean, he's figured something out, but it has nothing to do with what you're seeing in terms of broadcast delivery or on-air talent or anything like that.
Right. And do you think the debate will happen? Not the debate, but do you think you'll be going to his studio?
I would like to. I hope so. To be fair to him, when it can't come to me, the ball is still in my court. I haven't reached back out. They did send me an invitation with a little bit of detail in terms of they would provide me like a train there and back. I just honestly, with everything going on right now, I didn't want to say no, but I said, hold on and I'll get back to you. I'm going to do it. I'm definitely going to do it. I just got to figure out when, but I hope he still has that invitation. I mean, if he doesn't, then I'll have to do the same shit he did to every leftist who didn't want to travel during the pandemic. And I'm going to have to come out and say, really weird that Tim Pool reneged on his invitation to me, because I'm ready to go down to his studio and he's disinvited me.
Right. Yeah, that would be a fun conversation.
Right. I think he is the perfect example of a grifter, because unlike a lot of those guys, I don't think he cares. Like, I don't think he has a particularly strong ideology. I don't mean he's actually a progressive and he's just pretending to be a conservative for the money. I think he just doesn't care. Like, he'll just be whatever. He doesn't feel strongly one way particularly or not. Again, this is a guy who rose to prominence covering Occupy, and he didn't do it by shitting on them. He actually was a pretty straightforward live streamer for the most part. Like, he did come, his beef with Antifa stems back all the way to Occupy. I will say that though.
People saying that he used to film people, and the cops used to watch his content, and folks who were there weren't happy.
Yes, to me that's an actual debate. Like, there, and I agree with both sides. There are people who think that if you're covering protests, especially if you are sympathetic or progressive or leftist, if you're covering these type of protests, you should be extra careful about how you're filming certain people, so you don't identify, so they can't be identified in the video. I totally get that, and I agree with that. However, there's also but also the other side, which I also somewhat agree with, that, if you're a journalist and just trying to get an overall picture of what's going on, you are without a doubt going to get some of this activity caught on camera if you want to actually cover what's really going on down there. And I totally get that too. And Tim Pool was in that, and to me, that's a real debate. To me, there's no correct side on that. That is actually a real debate that I agree with both sides on. There is an argument for caring about making sure people can't be identified when you're covering these protests. An argument for just covering what you see. I am not for and when the conservatives cover this stuff on the live streams, they get up in protesters' face and try to get them there. They try to they pull. I've seen people pull down their masks or their bandanas. Now that is, I don't agree with. That's obviously, you can't touch people and do that. That's beyond what should be, obviously. That's just ridiculous. But if you are in public and you're protesting and someone's filming you, I mean, I think it's a fair debate that's part of what happens, But he is a guy who, back during Occupy, I think he fairly covered Occupy, but there were times where he would come across Black Bloc or Antifa when they were there was one time in particular where there was a group of Black Bloc people obviously completely covered in black clothing, and they were letting the air out of a police van's tires. And he saw them doing that while he was streaming. Like, he didn't go specifically to get them, but he saw it as he was following a march. And then he sort of started covering what they were doing. And they got really pissed at him, and I think they got a little bit physical with him. And he's basically had it out for, like, they haven't liked him since that, and he's had it out for them since that. So he's got a long-standing feud with Antifa. So it's not surprising that someone who feels that way all the way back then, though, would end up progressively becoming more conservative, I guess, if their understanding of the cultural wars and all that other stuff was also sort of in that realm as well.
Sure. Yeah, no, that fair enough. Hope the conversation happens without any risk to you.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fun.
Yeah, I'm
both
not.
You and him, and Sam and him. That would also be a fun conversation to watch.
Right. No, Sam. I don't know if you know this, but Sam did do a debate with Tim Pool, but they did it over live stream.
This is last year. I think.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great debate.
That was a fun debate to watch for sure. Yeah. What was it? The Thanos reference?
Right. Yes, I forgot about that. Yes.
The ontological versus, yeah.
Right.
And yeah, that was a fun debate. But yeah, thanks for taking my call.
No, thanks for calling, Sina. We really appreciate your calling in and listening to the show. And I think the debate will happen. It's just a matter of when.
Right. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
Right.
But
Thanks a lot.
Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
Bye. You too. Bye.
All right, folks, that's the show. I just want to read this one comment from David on the chat. According to Vosh, who was a leftist who debated Tim Pool a couple of weeks ago, according to Vosh, he's a true believer. Vosh said that Tim Pool says the same shit off air. No. I'm not saying that Tim Pool believes differently off air. I fully believe he's a full-on right-winger. What I'm saying is he became that because of the grift. Like, this isn't a show anymore for him. Like, I'm saying his ideology was amendable depending on where he found a career. And once he found that career, once he found that monetization opportunity, then he went all in with that ideology. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, like, the show ends, he finishes his YouTube, and he's all of a sudden Mr. Bernie Sanders supporter, Medicare for all, thinks cancel culture is fantastic. No. That's not what I'm saying at all. I will say this: I haven't watched a whole lot of that debate between Vosh and Tim Pool, but what I did see, I just think it's a bad way to go at these guys, and I've said that before when I would debate the back when I was debating the men's rights activists. I watched a lot of early MRA debates, and a lot of people who debated men's rights activists would go in there debating them with feminist theory. And it's like, why are you doing that? I mean, obviously you're right and they're ridiculous with their anti-feminist rhetoric, but why are you doing that? You're not going to defeat them on that. They're never going to admit defeat. And they'll always have some sort of backup to fall on, some sort of gotcha, because they've always been raging against what you're attacking them with, and their supporters will love it when they hit you on those things, even if they're wrong. It doesn't matter. And he went in talking about hitting Tim Pool with, and he was great with doing it. I mean, he's a very smart guy, I think, with leftist theory. And I just don't think that's the way to go about these debates, though, because who are you talking to? People who go to Tim Pool for information about how Netflix is going to be Netflix CEO is going to be jailed because they put a French film on their platform. I mean, you're not going to win these guys over, or not even win these guys over. Show these guys that their guy, in this case Tim Pool, is wrong by debating them on this stuff. They've already wrote this stuff off. They don't care. It's going in one ear out the other. You gotta take them down. You have to take them on their level. Like, I would go in there basically and do the same thing I did with Paul Elam, honestly. Although I do think I'd have more of a conversation with Tim Pool about what's going on generally, and we debate on that. But I think the way to go when you debate these guys, I think Sam was really good at this. Make their guy look dumb to them. Quite frankly, it's not about educating them or making their audience see the light. It's about making the guy you're debating look dumb to his audience. Is that the point of all debates? No. But for these YouTube guys, that's really the best you're going to get. And you will peel off some people, honestly. Not maybe to go listen to you, but you'll peel off some people from Tim Pool, maybe thinking, what, this is what he's got? This is his defense? I thought he was going to tear this leftist to shreds. That's why I think Sam Cedar was so great at his debate. All right, folks. That is the show for today. I'm officially exhausted. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. Again, can't do it without you, patrons. You are the lifeblood of the show. Honestly, when I see a new patron subscriber, it honestly makes me like revved up, and I'm like, this is going places, and I really am excited to get this show going. I had a few people actually up there, without changing the tiers yet, up their donation from $5 to $10. A few people did that. I really appreciate the support. I can't thank you guys enough. And honestly, if it wasn't for that support, I probably would lose motivation at certain points. It truly keeps me motivated and wanting to keep doing this show, and not just keep doing it. Keep doing it at a better level. I think the show just gets better and better. I think I become a better broadcaster each show. I think my ability to provide good interviews, because usually I have guests on the show, although the past couple episodes I have not. My ability to book good guests and have good interviews with those guests has just gotten better. And it's all thanks to you guys. And really, I could, again, thank you so much, patrons. One more super chat here. Imseti with a super chat. Good night, bro. Good night to you, Imseti. And thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right, everybody. See you all next time on Doomed.